That's my big question. Who's making all these noises? This is mine. Okay. Actually, that's not good. Actually, that's not good. Okie dokie. So I also need to review users. Okay. Okay. Danny, keep me on the door, so you don't have to be cool. Daddy's having company, okay? Daddy's having company. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, you can hear me?
Everything's fine, but I can't see anything.
Okay, yes, that's right. Sorry, I'm just finishing up just finishing up another project. So, what I should do is share my screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. That's better.
It's gonna look a little strange for a minute here. Okay, so I'm also going to present to everyone. Whoops, don't read my Skype conversations. Don't read my grant applications.
I think Laura should be soon.
Okay.
Yeah. She's never done a Google Hangout before, so.
Yeah, there's usually a little installation process.
Yeah, I know.
So, do you use JASM? Do you use JASM or ID?
No, JASM.
JASM, okay, great.
Yeah.
So you'll have to let me know if this screen blinks a lot for you.
No.
It might start.
Okay.
It did on my other machine. I don't know why.
No, I can't see anything.
But you see my JASM, right? Do you,
yeah.
Do you see the I don't even see him. Yeah, see, I don't get my menus here. I don't it's really strange. Interesting. You're not seeing menus pop down, are you?
Yeah.
You see menus come down?
No.
No, okay, me either.
I can see the main menu. No.
Yeah, but I don't get well, that's not going to work very well if I can't
Maybe because there's no file open? I don't know.
No, just none of this works. Oh, okay, well that worked. Ah, okay. Do you see that menu?
Yeah.
You see me selecting Bing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's progress. That is progress. And it's still just you and me. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I close this. Well, oh, look, that was the last place I edit. That's where I live in the United States normally.
Ah, okay.
This is Detroit.
Detroit.
That's Detroit.
You live there?
No, I live outside of Detroit, but this is the city of Detroit.
Okay.
I live.
Your cities really look strange to me in Europe.
It's a very
like,
big area.
Square. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is a grid in the United States. Normally, I live somewhere out here. This is Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ah, okay.
So this is normally where I live.
Ah, that's Laura.
This is our big. I went to the University of Michigan. That's our football stadium.
Wow.
That football stadium seats 110,000 people.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's one of the largest open stadiums in the world. So.
What if it rains?
What is what?
When it rains.
You wear a raincoat.
Ah, okay. So it doesn't close because in Germany, the soccer stadiums usually have a kind of tent or roof.
Nope, not here.
Oh, okay.
Nope, you just bring an umbrella.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Did we get joined by? We did. Laura.
Laura, hi.
I see you, Laura, but I don't hear you.
Oh.
I see you talking, but we're not hearing your voice. Okay. Do you see there's text chat over here? There's icons along the left-hand side, and the very top one for me is chat. And if I click on that, it turns on and off this chat window along the right. No?
Mm. Yeah, I think you have to go to settings and then adjust your audio output. Ah, okay.
Oh, okay, great. So you see the text, and we're working. So let me see here. So I don't have I used to have this. I'm not getting it, Laura. Settings. So yeah, the settings button lets me pick a microphone, lets me pick a output device. Mine are set to default. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have any idea. Here. There. This is why I leave my camera off.
Okay.
I'll switch back to sharing my screen, and everybody will be happy. Hi.
Okay. You're okay with texting, Laura? Oh, she can't hear us either. Oh, yes.
Okay. So I shared. Let's see here. I should also. So you should be able to basically just see my JASM, my JASM editor now, and we're obviously nowhere near where we're supposed to be. And I don't really have a plan. I can just do some mapping. You know what I mean? Or I can answer any questions you have, anything specific or anything general, and then I could just do some mapping, and we could talk about it as I do the mapping.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
It's your time, so you just tell me what you think is going to be good. I can go, then eventually, if I do some mapping, maybe I can try and share some tips with JASM. And Laura, just to be sure, Laura, you also use JASM? Yes, okay, great. Okay. So I am going to go to the tasking manager. You probably don't see this part, but I'm going to go to the tasking manager and so I missed it. So do you have any specific questions to start with? Do you have any URLs or coordinates or a question about anything in particular before I start?
Oh wait, I've made a list.
No?
Yeah. What about the cardinal points? So left is east or west, or how does it work?
Left is west. Left is west usually.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's all. Yeah.
Ah, paths. Okay. How about if I answer Laura's question, we'll do some paths.
Yeah.
And so 1894, I've been trying to do paths. Is 1894, that's not a project number. That sounds like a task tile square thing. Okay, so, but I need to know which project. Um, but I'm going to guess, let me guess, is this 1018? 1018 maybe? 1018, okay, good. So I'm finding 1018. And then what did we say here? We said 1894. So let me just get to 1894 here. And it's unlocked. I'm going to say, oh, I wasn't logged in. So hold on one
Oh,
second. I got to log in here. $18.94. Start mapping. Johnson. Okay. Okay. So does this look familiar, Laura? Oh, now it says you're muted, Laura. Now for sure I have this muted mic icon for you, by the way. We don't unmute yourself and try one more time. I'd love to hear you, Laura. See, now we're getting the screen blinking. This is this conflict with both of these things being Java applications. Still don't hear you, Laura. Did you try and say hi? You're not trying to say hi. I can see that. I can't do anything. Okay, I see. All right, I'm going to go to it then. I'm just going to go to it and talk myself through doing some path mapping. So I've downloaded data, and I'm supposed to be mapping paths. Okay, so the first thing I'll comment on here is, this, I mean, it's hard. First of all, it's just hard because of this mountainous terrain. Between the terrain and the forest and the forest cover, it's just hard. So this looks suspicious here. You might also notice that my roads look different than your roads look
yeah.
because if you can see over here on map paint styles,
Mm-hmm.
I'm using a map paint style that's called hot validate, which lets me, in theory, it's showing me problems. Like I can see over here, I have these triangles, and that means this road shares a node with this land use area, and it shouldn't. I'm going to turn off hot validate. So now this probably looks a little bit more like what you're used to. And so now you might recognize these broken green lines. This is highway equals path.
Mm-hmm.
Hot validate, if I check that, just displays them differently. This is what hot validate renders them as. So this is kind of a problem. This is something that's not good. So yeah, this is not good right here. You don't want to leave just these paths unconnected. And it's hard to see if they connect. So I do a lot of turning off my data layer to see if I can see where these might connect. And it's hard to see. I mean, here I can sort of follow, these probably connect. I can't see it because there's trees here, but it's likely the path doesn't stop there. I mean, these generally paths do something, so I'm going to guess those connect.
Yeah.
So I would connect them. If I were mapping this, I would connect them. And you can't really see where, you can kind of guess, but I would connect them because you don't want unconnected paths if you can avoid it. I mean, this is a little better. This is kind of long, not really connected to anything. You generally want to try and get paths connected if you can. And I understand it's difficult to even tell what's a path. This looks like a dry riverbed to me. This all looks like dry riverbed. Barely looks like a path. And sometimes it's both. Sometimes these things are a river for a certain time of the year, and other times of the year it's part of a path.
Okay. That's why paths lead to rivers or in rivers sometimes.
Yeah, this all looks, I mean, it's just really hard. I mean, it doesn't help if we don't have some sort of reference that somebody told us this is what this is. This to me looks like dry river bed.
Okay.
Um, that's just what it looks like to me. You know, the paths you can kind of see are just a different color here.
Mm.
Yeah, those aren't, but these are. So the first comment I would make is do your best to connect paths. Or don't map them. You know what I mean? You can also just not map them. You know, the thing we're trying to do is connect up settlements. So if you have paths that don't seem to be doing anything, don't seem to be just going out to farm fields, like maybe this path here, you know, that's not especially significant. I mean, you can map it. It wouldn't be wrong. Somebody did map it. It wouldn't be wrong. These should be connected.
Mm.
You know, clearly you can get from one path to the other there. At least now when the river's dry. You know, these should be connected, but don't feel obligated to map every single path. Yeah, these are all dry riverbeds. That's what these all are here. So, so you know, and zoom out a lot. I mean, this is what I teach people when they're trying to decide if something is a path or a road. I say zoom out because a lot of times, if you zoom out, paths will disappear and roads you'll still be able to see. But we do this, you know, so this is all dry, and it also, you know, just zoom out and try and get a sense of what's going on when you're trying to figure out what some of this is. You know, I can zoom out, now I can start to see, oh, okay, this is river, this is watershed, and I'm less likely to confuse it with paths. But it's just hard mapping. You know, it's just true. But do try and connect stuff up. So am I all still in the same task? Yeah, it's a big task square too. So it's a lot of mapping. So try and so even like here, you're going to want to try. This is hard to see. Let me put back on my validate. You're going to want to do this. You're going to want to connect these. These connect. You always want connections. You don't. This is not good. This means you need to look harder. You can't map what's not there, but do your best to map what is probably there and connect those things up. And then look and see where, you know, so this is a pretty major road. And, you know, I mean, you can get from here to here, you can get to this other path. So, you know, I'm just connecting these. Somewhere through here, walking around between their houses, you know, it's not the same as we are where you can't walk on other people's property. And then you can get to this road. Always leave a node. If you see where I'm leaving a node here, it's at kind of an intersection. Always try and leave road nodes at intersections.
Okay.
And, you know, try and map them pretty tight to what they actually do. But like here's an intersection, so I'm going to want to leave a node there. Any place somebody might add another road, you want to leave a node. And the reason for that is, so like you can see there's a small path comes in here, so I would leave a node here because somebody might want to join this to here. And same thing with this one. Somebody might eventually map this in. I'm not going to because it's not significant, but leave a node where they join them. And the same thing here, leave a node at the intersection. Always leave a node at an intersection or where somebody might be mapping something else in and wanting to join it to this road.
Okay.
And the big advantage there is it reduces conflicts. So what causes conflicts are adding nodes to a road, deleting nodes to a road, adding nodes and deleting nodes. So if you leave nodes, every place somebody might want to connect something, they won't have to add a node later. And that'll dramatically reduce the chances of getting a conflict.
And what would the right tag be? I don't know. Highway unclassified or?
On this one, I'm just going to end this one here for now because it's getting kind of long. 76 nodes. Can you see over here that this road that I drew in is about 76 nodes?
Yeah.
100 nodes. You want your road segments to be, not more than 100 nodes, 100, 110 nodes, and that's about it. Stop it and then start again so the next segment, is about 100 nodes. So the thing when you're deciding what to classify these things as, and this is primarily true in Africa, is kind of where most of my experience is, but in reading the Nepal road tagging guidelines, Nepal uses a similar concept. And the only decision that you need to make is it a path or is it a road? And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's all you have to figure out. You have to figure out, could a car go on this or is this foot traffic only?
Okay.
Okay, so this looks to me like a car could go down this big thing. This is a road. This looks to me like it's probably a footpath. This
Mm-hmm.
lighter, this lighter thing here. You would not be wrong to call this a footpath. Other clues as to whether it's a footpath or something that people drive on can be some stuff like this. The more wiggly it is, the more sharp, curvy, wiggly it is, sometimes that means it's a footpath because vehicle traffic doesn't do a lot of this. I still think this one is suitable for vehicle traffic. So once you've decided, that's the only hard decision is this, can a vehicle drive on this or is it a footpath? These all look like footpaths to me. This looks like a vehicle can drive on it. And so now, once you've determined if it's a path, if it's a footpath, then it's highway equals path. And that's just that. It's highway equals path, nothing else to do, mark it as such, and carry on mapping. If you have decided that this is something that vehicles can drive on, now it's super easy to classify because you classify the roads based on their function. So if vehicles can drive on this thing, then you can zoom out and look at the function of the road. If the road only goes, let's pretend this is a road for a minute. It's probably not, but I'm going to pretend that this is a road. If the road only goes to so it's like for tractors to drive out to like farmland or something, or sometimes a road will go to a river because people go to the river and collect water and bring it back. So if the road doesn't connect to anything, it just goes like out to the fields for somebody to drive a tractor to the fields or to haul stuff, to bring a wagon out to bring stuff back into town. It's basically just a service road for the fields. It doesn't connect to any other settlements. Then it's a track. Then it's highway equals track. That's what defines a track. It's not that it's dirt, or it's not that it's a certain size, or it's not that it's got a certain surface to it or anything. What makes it highway equals track is the fact that it just goes to farm fields, or it just goes to one farm building in the middle of a field, or it just goes to a river. It doesn't connect one settlement to another settlement. That's it. That's what a track is. It doesn't have anything else to do with how wide it is or anything else. It's just, does it connect to another village or does it just go to farm fields? If it's just a service road to farm fields, it's a track. If you have a road like this this is a small village, this road, there's probably, I don't know, I don't see a small village, but it does. It looks like it kind of goes around up here and connects to another small village, although this might not be for vehicles. This could be a footpath at that point. But if you have a road that's connecting just small village to small village, you drive along the road, so this road is small village, continues on to the next small village, the next small village. That's the next road up. Small village to small village to small village is highway equals unclassified. That's all these little roads are doing here, it looks like, without really seeing the area. This is mostly small villages. So if you're just doing small village to small village, small village to small village, this is, small village. So this whole thing here, this is Well, that's highway path. Okay, this is highway unclassified. So these are set right because these roads are just doing their small village to small village thing. If you can see that it is a road, even if it's the same size, again, I don't care how big the road is, I don't care how it's paved or unpaved. What I do is I care about its function. So if it's connecting up just tiny little villages in a string, it's probably unclassified. If it's going from a big city, tiny village, tiny village, tiny village, big city, tiny village, if it's a major connecting up larger settlements, then it's the next level up, tertiary or secondary. So you just want to look at what the road does.
Mhm.
Don't bother with what its surface is or how wide it is. If you think vehicles drive on it, you look at the function that road serves, and then that tells you how to classify it. Stringing together a few little villages or a few small settlements or a few farms, highway equals unclassified. Stringing together some little bit larger settlements going for a pretty big distance north to south or east to west, highway equals tertiary, highway equals secondary, something along those lines. It's kind of hard to tell when you're just doing small squares like this.
Mm.
You can usually get track, unclassified, and maybe get a sense for tertiary if you're just doing a square like this. What happens is after everybody does their mapping like this, somebody like me will come through and we won't check anything out of the tasking manager. I'll download this whole area, this entire screen, and I'll get a look at the much larger road network that other people have mapped in. And then I'll start deciding primary, secondary, tertiary, and usually unclassified and track and path are all done right because those are much easier to do in a tiny square. So if you're going to start doing primary, secondary, tertiary, you're going to need to start looking at a little bit larger area than just what you get in a typical task square.
Okay.
So generally when you're just mapping here, if this weren't an emergency, I might have already gone through and mapped in primary, secondary roads so that you don't have to worry about it. And then all you need to be concerned about is maybe tertiary, unclassified track and path in an ideal
You
world.
have to name them, right?
What's that?
You have to name them.
You mean with their real name or just the class?
Yeah. I always get a warning, unnamed ways.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, you can turn that warning off.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
you can turn that warning off. We just can't name them. So we just can't. That's it. I mean, if you could, that would be great, but that's for people with local knowledge.
Yeah.
But we can't name them. Just worry about mapping them in and getting them classified as well as you can and getting them connected up. And I'm sorry, Laura, let me catch up with you. Yes, I didn't know how to connect and disconnect nodes. So I don't want to guess. There are no roads nearby, so I mapped what I can see, and there's no access without the paths. You can guess. Don't, you know what I mean? You can guess. I'm going to guess. With these two, again, this is what I do. I blink on and off my layer here, my mapped in layer. That's a tough guess. This gap right here,
Yeah.
it's a tough guess. It doesn't, I mean, see, if you look real close, you can see this kind of disappears into the trees here.
Mm.
That looks like it might be a piece of the road. This is probably a piece of the road. So there's probably road under these trees. So I could at least guess that much further. I mean, here, I don't see it. It sure looks like it ends. I mean, it sure looks like it ends, but yeah, that's a path. So maybe it's a track. Maybe that one just gets classified as track.
But this one continues.
This one is path.
Okay.
That one is set. So that actually looks a little bigger than a path to me, but I'm fairly certain a vehicle could go on there. I mean, again, I zoom out. You know what I mean? If I can see that something exists at this zoom level, it's probably not a path. This one would probably be track. If I were going to do this correctly, I would probably reclassify this one as track. I'm just going to do it. No, because it's not connecting to anything. It really doesn't. I mean, it's so hard to say. See, here you can kind of see this is a piece of the road. Yeah, I mean, you can't, I don't know if you can see it. So that's probably a piece of this road. This is probably just tree cover. You can kind of see there's a little difference in the trees here. I would guess these things connect. Or maybe, no, I see. Maybe it goes like this and connects down here. Maybe that's how it goes. This is really tough terrain. It's tough to guess. So all I'm saying is I encourage you to do your very best to look really close and see if you can connect these things. You know, don't just stop and call it good. You want to do everything you can, short of mapping something that isn't there. You want to do everything you can to connect stuff, if at all possible. I don't know if that's helpful advice. Let me catch up with Laura here. What zoom level can I see from best? So I didn't want to guess. There's no access without the paths. Yeah, I mean these are tough. You know, when I'm doing this, I zoom in and out a lot because it helps me gauge if it's a path or a road. It gives me a sense of perspective. Um, so if I were going to map some of this, it's just hard mapping. You know, I mean, I wish I had some magic for you and I could just say do it. This I would connect. You know, these you can walk whatever along here, whatever that is. That looks like a footpath, and I'm going to assume those are connected. So you click on the end. I click on this end node of the path, and then I come over here and I click on, you know, the draw nodes square, and then you can see it just starts, you know, and I'm just going to kind of go along here. I'm going to assume you walk along the edge of that field until you get to that, and then you double click and stop. I would connect that. I don't feel bad about that, especially since it's a path. It probably is a path too. Yeah, you can walk along whatever that is. Let me see here. Another one that you guys might want to use under is imagery preferences. I would add the open cycle map. So I'm going to select, you know, this is all the available imagery that I can use. And a lot of it is country specific. You know, a lot of it is country specific. Switzerland, Czech, Germany. But up here is some just generic stuff. So I am selecting the open cycle map. I don't know if you've used this or not. Actually,
I
I might
do,
already have it.
but I can't see what you're doing.
You can't see, do you not have a, do you not see my dialog box?
No.
Ah, okay, then this is the thing where I have a dialog box. I went to imagery preferences, imagery menu, and then preferences, and it brought up a dialog box, and it has a list of imagery sources at the top, and then there's a button that says activate in the middle, and then there's another list of imagery sources on the bottom. And you move it from the top list, you select it in the top list, click on it, it highlights part of it in the top list, and then you click on the activate button and it moves it down to the bottom list. And then once it's in the bottom list, so do you not see my menu? I have my imagery menu down.
Yeah.
You do see that.
Yeah.
So I just added open cycle map to my list of available things that were available in my imagery menu. I went to imagery preferences. I got this dialog box. I moved open cycle map from the top list into the bottom list. And now it shows up here in my imagery menu. And I'm going to select it. And what open cycle map does is it gives you a topographical map. Because if you ride a bike, you care about hills. So they give you this topology map that can sort of help you get a sense of what the terrain looks like. So if the lines are tight together, that's steep terrain. And if they're wide apart, then that's more flat. And it helps sometimes for mapping. I only bring that up because I wanted to look and see if I could tell what that terrain was like, what some of this terrain was like. So I turned on Open Cycle Map.
Sure.
Okay. Laura, what zoom level? Okay, good helpful tips. Okay, Open Cycle Map, that's good. So try and find connections. Open Cycle Map doesn't help you for mapping paths at all. Let's see, 1 second here.
Is there any more memory we could use for Nepal?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Um, what other memory could I use for Nepal
Well,
besides Bing and
I mean, Open
OpenCycle?
Cycle Map. I mean, I use Open Cycle Map whenever I map.
Mm-hmm.
There's Bing, there's Mapbox, and then some of these individual tasks that are not 1018
Yeah.
have separate imagery for Nepal. Um, and then we also have some other, you know, imagery that I don't. Unfortunately, I'm not on my desktop machine, so I have a very limited selection. Um, I can't I can't do very much because I don't have all the imagery that I have saved there. But I'm going to try and just polish a couple of these up here. So I'm going to. This is track. Oh, I made that track because it only goes to farm fields. Yeah, and this. I want those to connect. I'm going to connect these. I feel like these connect. I feel like it happens here somehow. Yeah, I mean, this is one big tree, and you just can't see all these come together under these couple of trees here. So, So anyhow, this is what I do. I just, I think, I don't think this, I don't think that goes like that. I think it just connects here. So if I want to connect these two nodes, I just put them close to each other, and then I draw a little square around them, and that selects them both. And then the M key, you just hit the M key for merge,
Yeah.
and it'll merge them. So here, you can also go to Tools, Merge Nodes.
Yeah.
But see, now they're connected.
Okay.
So that's how, if you're not, like I could have just drawn them connected. I could have just, started and if I could have extended it, I could have, let's pretend like this is ended. And I'm going to do Alt A, and I'm going to call this highway equals, I got to look at it. But for now, I'm going to call it unclassified. I default to unclassified. So I could have just, if I wanted to connect this to these, I could have just extended it. I got the add draw nodes tool, A, and I could have just clicked on it and then clicked on this, double clicked on that, and now they're joined. Or the other way to do it is, just use your drag it tool, put them close to each other, select them both, and then I just hit the M key and it merges them. So whatever you want to do to connect them. Yeah, so.
What's the difference between combining and joining? It's not really clear to me. Combining means make two ways one.
That's true.
Yeah.
So this is a way, that's one way, and
Yeah.
this is a way, that's another way. They're joined, but they're
Yeah.
not combined.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to combine them, you click on one and then you shift click on the other,
And then
and
see. Yeah.
and then you say combine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
and it brings up, you're probably not seeing this, but it brought up a dialog box for me. And it says that, one is a path and one is unclassified, and if I want to combine them, I need to decide which is which.
Okay.
Because that's what I did. This one is a path and one is a unclassified. So, or maybe I have I have path and unclassified. I'm just going to make them both a path, and I'm going to say apply. And so now they're both a path, but now they're one. Now they're just one. So that's the difference. Joining them just meets them together, and combining them makes them into one object.
Okay.
Let's see, let me catch up with Laura. Command MG. I don't know what Command MG means, Laura. merge that. That does this joining thing. So I merged, I mean, I can merge these two. I can select that one, and I can select this one, and I can hit the M key, and it joins them.
Yeah.
It doesn't combine them, it just joined them, and it took one node, it merged the node with the node that was on the end there.
Okay.
So that's what merged. The ways didn't merge.
Yeah.
Just these two endpoints, just these two squares at the end merged, and then that connected them, but they weren't combined. They were joined. And that comes into play because, it might change in the middle. You know what I mean? So, because you can split away too. You can select a node, and you can say split. And now these are two separate objects.
Mm-hmm.
They're attached. They're combined, right? No, they're joined. I don't know what you want to call it. They're connected, but they're not the same way. And that's because, well, maybe this is a road and then it turns into a path. Or maybe this was unclassified and it turns into a track. So you might want to split it up. Or maybe it was too long. Maybe it was 900 nodes long. I had one the other day that was 900 nodes long, and you want it to be 100. You want your segments to be 100 nodes long, so you might split the way. I split the way 9 times, so that I had basically it was only about 100 nodes for each segment, because that leads to conflicts when your roads are just way too long, and somebody makes a change 3 tiles away. You're going to get a conflict because the road was 900 nodes long instead of 100 nodes long. So let's see what's going on here. This all looks pretty good. This is a fair editorial choice, to map this road here and not map this path. This path doesn't really do very much. You're fine to skip it. This is not good. You should connect these. So I'm just going to start there. I'm just going to select this node. There's no question here. These connect. So I'm just going to select this node, and then I hit my add, and now I just start drawing. And remember my tip that you want to leave a node at every intersection where somebody might connect something else, even if you're not going to, for next time. And then I double click here, and now that's mapped. And that, to me, so what do you guys, Laura, I'm going to let Laura decide. Laura, looking at this road that I just mapped in, it currently has no tags. But looking at this road that I just mapped in, what would you tag this as? Highway equals what? This piece right here. Every time I zoom, the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you see the piece I'm talking about here? I just mapped in this right here. I'm sorry. I just mapped in this short segment, and it connects from here to here. It connects these two. It's this short segment, but I need to zoom out because anytime you're trying to decide on tags, you have to zoom out. So you can see that really it's part of this whole thing here. So what would you tag this one little portion? I could also combine all these, by the way. I should fix this. While you're thinking about that, Laura, I am going to attach these. And I click on the end node and I say add. And then I double click on that one. Yeah. See, this is a pretty good example here. It looks like a road to me. You know what I mean? This is road quality. This turns into a path. So if you're being detailed, you could make this unclassified. Actually, I'd probably make it. Could be unclassified, could be track. I'd make it unclassified if it were me. I really reserve track for stuff that just goes to farm fields. So I made this track because, it connects to this settlement here. Oh, by the way, this settlement box is not very good. This land use equals residential. It's got way too much empty space in it. Here's a little bit of residential area, and here's a little bit of residential area, and the vast majority of this polygon is not residential area, and that's not the right way to do that. You would normally, I would fix it. I just delete these nodes. I would make my residential area tight around buildings here. And if I wanted to, it's up to you, but it's not wrong to draw a small residential area around these. Add land use equals residential. That's the proper way to, if you're going to use residential polygons for these two clusters of buildings, this is the right way to do it, as two small polygons instead of one polygon that combines them both. Because they do population estimates, and they expect them to be tight around buildings. It's still like 60% inaccurate when they're doing the square kilometers based on these polygons. It's rough population estimate, but it's useful to somebody. So you're best off trying to map them correctly, which is tight. Okay, Laura.
I always thought residential areas should be more houses, like 20 or so. I've read that somewhere.
Yeah, somebody made that up.
Yeah.
Not true.
Oh, not true. Okay, that's good to know.
It's not true for hot mapping. You know what I mean? It's fine.
Okay.
I wouldn't put it around one building, but because in theory we're kind of doing this in stages. So maybe we're going through and doing just residential areas. Well, sure, circle this, circle this, circle this. You can get a lot done fast just circling residential areas. And now emergency responders know that there's buildings here and they need to look at them, or they need to be concerned about it, or whatever it is they're doing. And that's that. And then you could go through with a second pass, and now everybody can map the individual buildings. So now we have a little bit more accurate information. But for hot mapping, out in the middle of nowhere where nobody maps anything, you're fine to wrap one of these around here. Because if I'm looking at a tile and I'm supposed to map buildings and somebody already went through and drew all these little polygons, it just helps me too. Now I'm supposed to draw individual buildings. Well, that's great. Residential area, there's buildings here, there's buildings here. I can zoom in, map my little buildings, come here, map my buildings, look for the next one that somebody put the residential polygon around, and it helps me greatly. So don't feel bad. This is not good. These should be connected. These I'm just going to merge. I'm going to shift click on the two nodes, and I'm going to hit the M key and merge those. You always want connections. Disconnected things don't help us. So Laura said path. I'll go with that, Laura. That sounds good. I don't think path or zoom out. I'm going to zoom out. And see how this disappears? This part right here just disappears. So this is road. I would pick whatever it is, track or unclassified. And then it disappears, which means it's probably path. If I can't see it zoomed out, it's probably path. This is probably some sort of highway of some sort. If you can see it zoomed out, cars can probably drive down it. So let's see here. Turn back on our data up there. This is the piece we're looking at with my data turned off and zoomed out. Path isn't wrong. This is a path for sure. This is not for traffic. This is not for vehicles. Vehicles might go on here. That's possible. But path it is. I don't object to path. Path is acceptable. So highway equals path. I mean, a lot of it's just a judgment call. For sure this is a path. Vehicles aren't driving down there. But like I said, just zoom out. If you can still see it zoomed out, it's probably handles vehicle traffic. I can't see anything here, so that's probably a path. I can see this here, so that's probably, vehicles can probably go down that. But, it's not wrong. It's a judgment call on these. At this very bottom scale, it's a judgment call. There's probably no wrong answer. So I made it a path. Let's see here. Oh, you guys want an advanced tip? I'll give you an advanced tip. Um, Here, I'll give you an advanced tip. I'm messing up this road. I don't care. Just for demonstration purposes. Because maybe somebody mapped this with different imagery, or somebody just didn't map it very carefully. Who knows? But you come across a road that's poorly mapped. Doesn't have enough nodes. Maybe somebody only did this with 3 different nodes and it's bad. So what I usually do when I'm fixing something like this is I use a tool that's called the Way tool. Let's see, I think it's over here somewhere. Improve Way Accuracy Mode. I have an icon over here on the left-hand side. It shows like a straight path and an arrow and then a wiggly path, and it's W is the shortcut key, and it's Improve Way Accuracy. And so that's the tool that I'm going to use for this. And so what that tool does is I select the object I want to work on, and I hit the W key, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a dot. So you can see my big road. This is the road that I'm dealing with. But there's also a dotted red line that's following my crosshairs. Maybe you can see it here. And you may or may not be able to tell, but this node is red. This node just turned red. As I get close to these nodes, they turn red. Maybe if I turn off my battery. Yeah, see? Now you can see these nodes turning red as my crosshairs get closer to them. And that means that wherever I click, this node that's red is going to get moved.
Oh, wow.
When I come over here, now this node is red, so this node's going to get moved. This one's red now, so wherever I click, this node's going to get moved.
That's much faster than adding nodes to a road or to a highway.
Well, this is not adding any nodes. This is just moving these nodes. If I hold down the control key, you can see I have a dotted red line. This will be what the way looks like after I click. That's what the dotted red line is telling you. This is where the road's going to go. If I hold down the control key, now that line turns solid, and you see there's a plus sign. Now it starts adding nodes.
Okay.
So now I'm actually adding nodes to improve.
Control.
Yeah, control starts adding nodes.
Okay, cool.
So you got to be careful. It'll take some getting used to, but because it'll start wanting to move a different node. But yeah, if you hold down control, you can start adding nodes instead of moving them. And sometimes this happens, You got to get close and kind of walk it over where you want it to be, because it's getting a different node, because it goes by the one it's closest to. So occasionally you'll have the wrong node selected.
Okay, that's absolutely useful.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's called Improve Way. See here, I want this node to move, but I'm too close to this node, so I'll have to come out and kind of walk it in. So I use this a lot when I'm doing, corrective mapping. See, this node will move. I want to move this node into here, but I'm closer to this one. So that's going to jump the wrong node for me, so I got to come out here and walk this one in. A lot of times it's not as dramatic as my bad way was. So you can add nodes and make your ways a little bit more useful. That's one of my favorite tools. I use it all the time. So I got to go back to hot validate. Okay, let me check in here with Laura. Looks like a pass, so we should circle residential or draw houses for this project. You look at the instructions. So the instructions for this one say trace buildings. So I would trace the buildings. You don't have to, though. You know what I mean? If you don't have time to do it and you want to be helpful and you don't want to trace individual buildings, then draw the residential area around it and do that. You know what I mean? You don't have to do buildings. You can't mark it done. You can't mark the tasked square as done. But if all you want to do is just quickly identify where there's clusters of buildings and let somebody else who's a little more, some people love drawing buildings. Some people will draw them for hours and hours. It's not for me. I mean, I'll do it because it has to be done, but some people love it. So if you don't feel like drawing a million buildings, draw residential areas and let somebody come in and fill in buildings later. That's totally fine. You don't have to do what the instructions say if you don't mind not marking it done. You know,
Okay.
this is another one of these that's not especially good.
Hmm.
There's a little cluster up here. There's all this empty space and then a cluster here. That's not especially good. So what I would do is I would select those two nodes and delete them. And now it'll snap to just what's much more an actual residential area. And I draw residential areas. I don't care. Nobody's telling me 20 buildings.
How do you delete a node? Just by delete?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. You just select them. So what I did was, oops. So I just used my selection tool, and it's hard to tell, but I just
Hmm.
drew. I selected these two nodes. It's hard to see them, but I selected them by just drawing a box around them, and drew a box around them, and then I hit the delete key,
Okay.
and now they're deleted, and it just snaps. Control Z undoes it. And what else you got here, Laura? Should we circle residential or draw a house? Yeah. So it's up to you. Whatever you want to do. Can't mark it done if the instructions say do the buildings, but it's helpful to go through and draw residential areas. That's never a waste of time. Don't feel bad. Try and do it right, but this one's it's hard. This one's a judgment call. I'll just leave it for now. So paths we kind of went over. Just connect them up. Just keep in mind you want stuff to be connected as much as possible. And I understand that it's hard to tell what's connected and what's not. Um, but if you feel like you're drawing a bunch of unconnected stuff, then you want to think about going someplace else because you're probably not, you know what I mean? It's just not like this. Let's see who did this. Oh, you guys can't see this, but Control H brings up the dialogue and tells me who did it. This is you, Laura. That's no problem. You know how many short paths I drew, Laura, for the first months that I mapped? Everybody does. This is exactly, because that's what we tell you. It says in the instructions, draw every path you can see. And then that's what we do. But I'm here to tell you it's better if you can connect them. And these look like they might connect. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a white patch here, and you can kind of see a difference in the trees. And there's another white patch, and then this is the edge of the trees, and there's a white patch. These probably connect. This one here, you can probably justify mapping that whole thing. I would do it. I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to connect these to start with. And then I'm going to extend this one. I'm fairly certain. I know neither one of you would do this, but I'm fairly certain this is how this path goes. This whatever it is. So try and connect stuff up, if at all possible. This connects. Yeah. Yeah, see somewhere in through here, either this right here. Yeah. Put a node here because it's an intersection. And then I'm going to complete it right there. Those connect. So if you just try and concentrate on not doing the short segments, just as, like I said, it's a judgment call. What else do I know about anything JASM related? So for instance, this is telling me that these share a node and they're not supposed to. A road should never share a node with a land use area. But somebody did. When they were mapping, when I map, I can click here and see this actually gets highlighted and it tells me it's going to add a node there. So if I'm doing a road and I accidentally click on a land use area, it'll join them. And that's just not correct mapping. So I'm going to delete this one that I just did. And so, the magic way to fix this is you select the land use area. So this is, land use areas can share nodes. So if this is a residential area and I was going to map forest, I'm going to call this forest, then the right way to do land use polygons is to share nodes. So if I were going to map forest here, let's say this is forest and this is residential, land use butts up against each other. So I would share a node on purpose. I would start there and then I would snap to this node, and now I would, draw my forestry land use, because there's no gap between where the residential starts and where the forestry starts. Those share nodes. That's the right way to do land use. Share nodes. That's called deslivering. You don't want a sliver of nothing between here. You don't want, I don't want this to be my residential area and then this to be my forest area and there's a sliver of no man's land in there. It's because that's not really the way it works. Residential stops and then forest starts, and that's that. So don't have slivers between land use polygons. But you don't want to share nodes between land uses and roads, because we just don't do it that way. So try not to share nodes between land use and roads. So I'm just going to delete this forest land use that I made. But I still have this problem of roads sharing nodes here. So this is an easy fix. You select the land use polygon, and you go to Tools, and you select Unglue. And you'll see these triangles will disappear. See? So now they don't share nodes anymore. That gives the land use polygon its own node and leaves the road polygon its own node. And that's that. They're still on top of each other where they used to share a node, but it's not it's not a shared node anymore. I don't really see where the other one was.
Yeah, this also happens with buildings sometimes.
Yeah, some places buildings, they share walls, and you can tell by the roof line, and then you can do that. It's not wrong if there was another building here, if this were dense urban and a whole block was just building attached to building attached to building attached to building, you can do it. You would just share the nodes, and you would draw your building, and I would share the nodes, and I would draw the building next to it. And that's not wrong.
Warning every time. I don't know why. I get a warning then.
Well, you will get a warning because it's not typical.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's not
I
typical.
use the normal drawing tool when I do something like this.
Oh, interesting. But here,
building, yes.
These buildings aren't joined, so try not to share nodes with them.
Okay.
That's just, yeah. So this right here, this is kind of iffy. These two share nodes. I don't think they share nodes in real life. No. To me, this looks like one building, and this looks like a separate building. Yeah, they're super close to each other. They're closer together than the resolution of the imagery. So they look like one building, but they're not. They're two completely different roof styles.
Yeah.
It's just they're closer together than how big one pixel is from this satellite imagery. This satellite imagery is like 1 meter per pixel or something, which is pretty big, pretty low resolution. So there's just less than a meter between these two buildings, so it looks like they're joined. But if you squint, I squint all the time when I do this. And if I squint, it looks like two buildings to me. So I'm not going to invalidate this tile or anything, but I personally wouldn't map it like this as joined nodes. It's probably not right. I don't think the buildings are joined. So I could come in here and I think I can say unglue ways, and I can just move the building so they're not attached anymore, and that one's fixed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, how about this? Oh, here. I'll leave you with one good tip, and then I got to kind of wrap it up. But let me just check in with Laura. I don't know what else to do. I figured someone might fix them. My delete key won't work in JASM. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know about that. The delete key not working. You're okay. Somebody else will fix it too. Don't ever forget that. You know, the system is designed to have multiple people look at it. If it's working correctly, multiple people will look at it and somebody else will fix it. That's the way it's supposed to work. So don't sweat any of it. You know what I
What
mean?
are these? What are these spots on the roof? Is this some kind of reflection or
Which ones? Where?
the roofs are white in some spots. Can you see
Oh,
that? That looks like reflections or
like here? Like this one's pretty bad?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
just
wouldn't be sure it's a building.
the imagery's not great, and it's probably a tin roof, and they get a little reflective, but it's not anything. Yeah, I mean it's not anything to. That's just the way it goes. You know, it overloads the sensor because it's getting a glare or whatever it is. But here, I'll show you this. This tip will be good for you for JAWSM users. This is definitely medium advanced. Okay, so let's find. I'm not going to find one apparently because there's no L-shaped buildings. But I'm going to show you how to do L-shaped buildings. Here, we'll do it. Where's this one that was wrong? Yeah, see, these are probably sharing a node. Yeah, see, those shouldn't share a node. That's a mistake. So I would just unglue them. Tools, unglue ways, and now they don't share a node. But where was that building that did share a node? Okay, so this right here. All right, I'm sorry to whomever. Let me just see who mapped this. Nobody I know. So I'm sorry to whomever mapped this, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to pretend like this is, I'm going to delete this node too. So I'm going to pretend like this is an L-shaped building. And the way you do, one of the ways that you can do L-shaped buildings in JASM is you draw you draw the main, who did this one? Same lady. Okay, well, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to pretend that this is an L-shaped building. So the way that you do L-shaped buildings in JASM, you get your building tool, and you draw the main part of the building, however you normally would. Oh, by the way, selecting a building and you hold down Control and Shift. You see how my cursor turned into two arrows? And that lets you rotate a building.
Okay.
So you select it and then Control Shift, you can rotate it so it lines up in case you accidentally draw it and it doesn't quite line up the first time. And if you do Control Alt while you have a building selected, that icon is meaningless, but it lets you scale it bigger or smaller. So if you've way overdrawn it accidentally, or you're looking at somebody else's and they've way overdrawn it, select it and then Control Alt, scale it down to the right size. And if it's off alignment, Control Shift and rotate it till it's what it's supposed to be. But we're drawing this L-shaped building here. So I drew the main part of the building, and now you come over and you get this tool that's called Create Areas, and it looks like a protractor. No, I'm telling you wrong. We're going to get that tool in a minute. Forget I just said that. So I drew my building. Come over here to your add, the regular add nodes thing. I use the letter A, but draw nodes. And I'm going to put a node right where this L is. So I'm going to just add a node right here in the middle of the building by double-clicking. I can add a node anywhere on any of these lines by just double-clicking there, and it'll put a node. So I added one here for no reason. But I added this one here for a reason. Now I come over and I get my protractor tool, which is normally the X key. And now when I have the X key, that lets me grab and stretch just one part of the building. Where I put my node, that's the cut point, and then I stretch it out. And it works both ways. I can grab any edge of a building and I can stretch it, or I can make it smaller.
Wow.
With this X, I go by what their thing, I don't know what it's called, the Create Ways thing. But now you can grab any edge and stretch it or shrink it. So if I grab here, it's going to stretch, but only from the cut point, only from that node that I put there. So that's how you can make crazy shaped buildings, is you just add the cut points with the A key by double clicking, and then you do the X key to get the protractor tool, and you start stretching out the parts that need to match whatever it is that you're mapping. And you can make, some nice uniform shapes. That's how I do L-shaped buildings. Doing stuff until I get back those two buildings. So that's it. I do the add a node, and I add a node, and then I do the X key, and I extrude, or I pull out whatever it is, the part that I want to pull out. Sometimes another way to do it, if you're trying to do this, another way to make these L-shaped buildings is to whatever works for you. But I might draw the main building, and then I would keep my building tool, and I might draw the L-shaped portion, and then I just make sure they overlap. And then I select them both. I do S to get my select key, and I shift click them, and then I come up and I do join overlapping areas. And so now I've ended up with an L build. It's not perfect because I didn't quite match these parts up, but I still ended up with an L-shaped building. So sometimes I do that depending on what I'm drawing. I often do it when I need to, if this were curved, if this had like a curved porch on the front, I draw a single line that is the diameter of the curve, and then I do shift and the letter O, and that turns it into a circle. And then I shift select the building. I didn't get my selection tool. I shift select the building, and then I come up here and I say join overlapping areas. Now my building has a curve on the front. Nice. A lot of times they got like a porch or something and it'll be curved. So drawing circles is, you use the A key, you do a single line that's the diameter, you double click to finish it, and then you just do shift and the letter O, and it turns it into a circle with that diameter. Let's see if I can think of anything else.
I have a problem with the building tool. Sometimes when I draw a building, I can't choose the direction. It's always in the same angle, and then I have to go back to the selector tab or whatever, and press escape.
Okay, that's on purpose. That's working as designed. And so what that is like if we were any place that was, like in a typical Western city where all the houses are lined up, they're all oriented exactly with the road, where we map, it's never true. There's no two buildings that are, these two buildings might be lined up. But for the most part, there's no two buildings ever lined up, so it doesn't apply to us. But with the building tool, if I draw a building,
sorry.
And, that's a terror. I'm just not seeing. Okay, so I draw a building with the building tool, and now I need to draw another one that's exactly lined up with it. I'm not too bad. I don't want to toot my own horn here. I'm not too bad at just freehanding these. But if I needed to do that, and I needed it to be correct, what I do is you select it. I would select this building, switch back to my building tool, and now I can't. They'll always be exactly lined up.
But so how do I avoid it?
When that happens to you, it means you have another building or object selected, and the building tool is keeping them all exactly aligned. I get no choice, because it's going to match however this one is oriented, because this is the selected one.
Okay.
So if you start drawing someplace, I have a building selected who knows where, and I'm just drawing here, and I find out I can't do it, hit the escape key twice.
Twice, okay.
That'll deselect it, and now I'm free to.
Cool.
Now I'm free to have my building be in any direction. Okay. But that's what it means. So if you do ever are in a place where the buildings are really lined up, you select it with the select key, switch back to the building tool, and now they'll always be in line. But everybody, that gets everybody the first couple times. You got no idea why you can't.
Yeah.
I think it works. I think it works with I think it works with roads too. I think you can select a road, and that way you'll make sure that your road is always, your buildings are exactly oriented to the road. But if you can't change it with the building tool, it means that you have something else selected.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, I don't have. Get the GeoChat tool. You should install the GeoChat plugin. I don't see. I'm not finding any. The GeoChat plugin will show other users on the map, which is really handy. Because I could see it would be like a circle right here, and it would have your name on it. So you can say, hey, what's this? And then you go stand on it, and somebody can come and look and see exactly what you're talking about. So install the GeoChat plugin sometime. It's not very intuitive. You have to choose Show Users on Map over here. But I would definitely install that if you can. Imagery, go into your imagery preferences and look and see what other layers you can add. OpenCycleMap for sure should be in your list of layers. I'm running out of stuff. Transparency, you know about transparency on the layers?
I do.
This one doesn't really help me, but you can click on the layer here, and then this gradient, I get a slider, so I can change. This is often how you will, do your background alignment. If you have two sets of images and you want to make sure that they're exactly lined up, you'll make one half transparency, and then then when you drag around, you can line it up with what's underneath it to make sure that they're exactly registered the same. Yeah, like apparently this is off. I just registered this with with this road. So it looks like OpenCycleMap is off a few meters in each direction, because this is perfectly lined up and those should be 0, 0. They're pretty close. So that's nice to use the transparency on your layers. Depending on what kind of mapping you're doing, you'll do that a lot. Yeah, so here I can look. I mean, here is MapQuest. Oh no, that's draw. Let's see. Big, and I don't have one. I don't have another imagery layer. So try out the transparency. You can adjust where these things are, which ones are on top with these arrows. Move up and down your imagery layers if you need one on top of another for some reason, some advanced mapping. Another fun thing to do is, like so this is river. Somebody decided this was river, but they didn't map it all the way up here. And you can do this for roads too. Click on go up to View, and choose Viewport Following. This is a fun one. Viewport Following. And now, everywhere you click, it will automatically center. So you can draw really long roads and rivers, and it's moving the window itself. I'm not moving the window. It recenters on the last place you clicked.
Oh.
So that can help for doing roads and rivers. Now I'm starting to wonder if that's a river. So viewport following is, oops.
Viewport following.
Viewport following is good for doing long roads and rivers. It's fun. I guess the rivers. I don't know how we know that. Viewport following is a fun one for me. I mean, that's it, really. I don't. I mean, there's a ton. I just did a class on JAWS and I had way more tips, but I just don't remember 'em. I mean, some of it's a little bit advanced. Download from Mirror is a little bit advanced. I'm just going to delete my data layer here. I'm going to upload it. What do I care? Upload my changes. So yeah, I have untagged ways. Oh wait,
Mm.
that's a different problem. Untagged ways is different. And then, oh, I should tell you this. Yeah, why not? What the heck? So you should come over here and you should go to Tools. Tools? View? Edit? What? Let me see here.
I think you're on the wrong layer. Because it happens to me too.
What?
You're on the wrong layer.
No, okay. I'll buy that. We'll see. I'll try it. It's not a bad suggestion. No, I don't see the menu item I'm looking for. Anybody here use validation?
Yeah?
Where's the validate menu item?
Hmm.
Let me check in with Laura. Laura, what minimum requirements for marking a tile done? I mean, you got to try and, whatever the instructions say. If the instructions say map all buildings, you're going to want all the buildings to be mapped. If it says map all, like, so this tile here says, map all paths and roads and buildings and waterways. Oh, here's my untagged way. What is that? It's probably, let me just decide on this real quick. So I got to decide what to do with this road. Truth be told, I think that's a track. If I zoom out, I can still see it. This is what I'm looking at. If I zoom out, I can still see it, so I don't think it's a path. But it doesn't connect anything. It goes to fields. So I think this one right here is a classic track. This is what I'm tagging. And it doesn't connect, before I speak, I don't know. I would personally this one I'm going to label as a track. I'm going to do a highway equals track. That's my unlabeled way. So this one is roads and paths and buildings. And I can't see anything here. So roads and paths and buildings. I mean, honestly, and waterways. I think waterways is in the list. And
Yeah.
so this is all waterway that's not mapped. Even if waterways wasn't in the list, I mean, all the buildings look mapped to me. I mean, you can always find a building that's not mapped. Here's a building that's not mapped. You can always find a building that's not mapped. But for the most part, the only thing that's really missing from here is if waterways wasn't included. I mean, for sure there's waterways that are not mapped here. Again, somebody circling all these residential areas helps a great deal because now I can start to look and see, are there, there's some way to get there. You know what I mean? There's not a cluster of buildings with no way to get there. So I can start to see, are all the paths mapped because somebody went through and did residential areas for me.
How can I see them if it's...
Laura, I wouldn't mark this one done yet. I mean, there's certainly waterways that need to be done, but I think the roads kind of need to be improved a little bit, and waterways. All these waterways could be a little bit more. It's not too far from being done, really. It's not too far from being done. This one's pretty close. There's some major waterways that could get mapped.
How can I tell if something is river or stream?
River or stream? Nah, I don't know. Got me on that one. Just your judgment.
Okay.
I mean, these are streams. This is probably a river. They probably all get marked with intermittent or seasonal because those look dry to me now. This is a winter snow thing. And look at your open cycle map to get a sense of. It's really kind of strange. I don't know. This looks like river. I mean, this is definitely a stream. This looks like, I mean, stream or river is just a tough choice. So it's very hard to tell if there's water in there or not. It looks like there's probably water in there today. Um, yeah, I mean, river or stream here, most of this is probably stream. River is a little bit more navigable. The wiki, go to the wiki and search river, stream, and they'll give you some guidelines. There's probably something like, can a boat go down it? That makes it a river. There's probably some guidelines for that. I tend to do most stuff this size as stream. What did these people do it as? This is stream. See, they marked it waterway, stream, intermittent. Yes, I would say this one is mapped correctly. So I would just continue what they did. You know what I mean? So if you pick up where they left off, it'll take their tags. It'll take whatever tags they. What did I just do? Something didn't work out right there. So I would kind of go with whatever they had. Stream, intermittent equals yes. I still have viewport following on, so. Yeah, it starts getting a little lost in here. I'd stop there. Yeah, see, this is the. Yeah, so it kept the tags because I just extended it. Yeah, it's just a judgment call. I wouldn't call it a river. I tend to go with something big with banks as a river. And if there's not banks, then I tend to think it's a stream. Let me check in with Laura. Yeah, so this one's not quite done, but it's awfully close. If the roads were just a little bit better, a little bit, I mean, they're fine. They're not wrong. If the roads were a little bit more complete, if we paid a little bit more, we tried. I mean, you can double check them. Like here, I don't know. I don't see anything. I can't continue that one. You want to continue, and believe me, you want to connect stuff, but I know it's hard. So, if you double checked all the roads and you felt like you had all the major roads that were connecting stuff, yeah, like, this isn't doing too much here. That's fine if you don't map it. You could map it, but you got the main road mapped. That's great. This is not doing anything different. Track. It doesn't connect to anything. It just goes from one part of the road to another part and gives you access to forest and fields. That's a track. It's not a path. It doesn't disappear when I zoom out. I can still see it, so it's probably a track. Doesn't really connect up buildings. Goes to these woods. Yeah, that's all track. If it's not the stream. So, I mean, this looks pretty good. The major roads, I'd try and polish up this a little bit. If you can. If you can't, you can't. If they don't connect, they don't connect. These should connect. So validate. So I would validate. Let's see what validation says here. I don't see my okay, there we are. So let's validate this task. So one error, building duplicate nodes. I'll zoom to the problem. Oh, look, that's the one we identified earlier. Good for us. I'll select it, and I'll just do unglue ways. This is my easy way out of this. Oh, none of this way's nodes are glued to anything else. Okay, well. And I don't know what the problem is. And I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to draw it again. And I'm going to square my building. And I'm going to call it good. And I have 11 warnings. Overlapping highways. Okay, let's see what that's all about. So, did I do that? Is that the part that I just mapped?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't think so. It looks like something I mapped. Look, I'll check the history.
Okay.
I'll call you out on it. I'll check the history. I'm not going to, but I could. So I don't know. So I'm just going to delete that node and see what happens. Okay, wow. And so I'm just going to join these then. Oops, I'm just going to join these then. Fix it a little bit. Okay. Two cross buildings. I mean, this is good if you will do it. Okay, so this building, this road goes across the building. That's just sloppy.
How do you jump so fast to the building?
I right click. Are you not seeing? I right click and I say zoom to problem
Okay.
over here on the in my
Yes,
validation results window.
expect.
I opened up my validation results window.
Yeah.
And then now I just right click on these things and I get a pop up. Maybe you don't see it. It says zoom to problem and it jumps me right there.
Yeah.
No big deal. We'll just move this, just move it so it's not overlapping and this road could probably be a little bit more precise. So I'll zoom to the next one. I think I just fixed this one. And unnamed ways, we can't do anything about unnamed ways. So this one says way end node near other highway. That's these unconnected things. Yeah, see, that's an actual error in JASM. So select them, hit merge, fix it up a little. On to the next one. Zoom to problem. Oh, I see. Untagged ways. Way terminates on an area. That's these shared nodes that we want to avoid. So I'll
Okay.
select the polygon and I'll go unglue ways. And now that doesn't happen anymore. So I'll also blink this on and off and just double check. That's fair. No tags. No tags. I can't read this. No tags. Unconnected nodes without physical tags. I don't even know what that means. I don't see anything here. I don't, I don't have any idea what's going on here. I don't see anything. Oh, I see. Because I have that thing there turned on. Oh, I've done that plenty of times. So I don't know. This is just looks like some. I did it again. What's going on here? Just looks like some stray node. I'll just delete it. Some stray node. I'll just delete it. Stray node. I'll just delete it. Okay. So let's see what validation says now. Unnamed way. Oh, untagged waves. That's a real problem. That I gotta.
Oh,
Yeah, no big deal. Great. So that's it. Unnamed ways I can't do anything about. So now I'll just upload these, and it's all fine. And that's that. So let me check in with Laura again. The gap in the road bothers me. Did you feel? Will all these gaps be road tested? No. I mean, someday. Someday somebody will get there. It's probably not going to be in our lifetimes. Not out here. So, I mean, we do the best we can. It'd be nice. Someday somebody will get out here and confirm all our mapping. Hopefully it'll be because they're on vacation and not because there was a terrible earthquake. So, yeah, I mean, we don't know. I mean, we do the best we can. And, yeah. See, I mean, this probably, you know, it looks to me like this probably connects. I mean, you got to remember, these are trees. It's not grass. It goes underneath here. It looks to me like this goes, and you can kind of see this, it's next to impossible to see. But you see these marks in the tree. This is a path down here. It goes under the canopy. There's a little separation in the canopy here, and it comes out there. I can see that these trees are smeared. That also doesn't help. So when they orthorectified this imagery, these trees are, I can tell this is an orthorectification problem too, that ruins our ability to see in here. These trees,
What's auto rectification? Sorry.
they can, when they figure out, like this is all like, see down here, oh, here's something I should show you too before I call it quits. So down here in this corner, you should be able to see my longitude and latitude moving. As I move my cursor around, the last couple digits are flipping through. You see that down here in the lower left-hand corner?
Yeah.
So every pixel on here, in theory, has been accurately matched to someplace on the planet that's these coordinates. And when they do that, the picture, they find, I don't know how they do it, there's different ways to do it, but oftentimes they have some sense of where like 5 points are in a huge photo. They'll be able to know that the top right corner is one coordinate, the top left corner is another coordinate, the bottom right and the bottom left. They'll have those 4 coordinates. Those they're sure about. And then they know how much space the whole thing covers, and it'll skew the image until it fits into whatever that square is. And then you get this shearing in the image itself because they just kind of, that's called orthorectification, is when they shift this so that it, also I can also tell, you might not be able to tell, but this used to be at an angle. This is not direct overhead imagery. There's an oblique, there's an off-nadir angled look to this. These trees are going off to the northwest there, but it has to get shifted so that it looks like it's direct overhead. And that process just smears the imagery because it's not direct overhead, but they forced the image to be, these pixels to be where they should be, as if they took it directly overhead, but they didn't. So they had to just, they skew the image a little bit, and it ends up, I can see, having looked at it, I can see these trees are really pictured at an angle, but I can assume that, this pixel right here matches up with what it's supposed to be on Earth, instead of it being somewhere up a tree trunk, because I'm looking at these trees at an angle. So that's also partly why I can't see the path go through here. But this path does go through here, I'm quite sure. It comes out of this village, and it goes along through here, and it goes along through here, and this little bit of mess up in the trees is just, the canopy is broken because underneath it is this road. So anyway, this is pretty close to done. Laura, would you field through it? Yeah, I mean, I would do it. I mean, I would map it. But I've also looked at, like, I've followed actual maps before that have been overlaid on here, that have the roads drawn in from the government, where the government says the road is here, they surveyed it, and I turn off the map and I see that there's just trees, and then I look super close and I can start to see a break in the canopy where I know the road is because I have something that's been surveyed and the map says it's there. So I mean, that's how I can have a little bit more experience with it than somebody who hasn't. I'm telling you, man, for however long I mapped it exactly like this, worse, you know what I mean? I mapped this as a path 2 meters long, and that is a path 2 meters long, because that's what it says to do, and that's all I can see. And I don't want to do it where it's not. But after a while, after you've gotten confirmation that this can really happen, yeah, it goes through there, even though I have no clue, you start to get a little bit more confident in doing it. I'm not saying don't map what you're not sure about, That's the rule of thumb, is don't map what you're not sure about. I'm pretty sure. I'd map this. I've seen it before. I would map it. But don't map what you're not sure about. That's just the way it works, We do the best we can. I'm just saying, try and really look hard to see if you can connect stuff up. Don't make stuff up that's not there. But, this connects. Obviously some of this connects. I know you're not skipping those, Laura. I know you're skipping the ones that are hard. I don't want to map them either, but Or don't map them if it's just nothing but short breaks that you can't get. You know, go back and start looking for major thoroughfares. Yeah, this one's close to done. You know, I mean, if it got marked done, I wouldn't invalidate it. If it got marked done and I was doing the validation on it, I'd just finish mapping it. I mean, I never invalidate squares. That's why I don't do a lot of validation. But, you know, if it's not done and I'm supposed to validate it, I just finish it. You know, validation's really just the next step. It's the second pass in mapping. It's great if I show up and it's all mapped and everything's great. I can say validated and move on. But I expect to do mapping when I validate. You know, I have more mapping experience, so I might be doing a little bit different mapping than most people do. So I would finish mapping it, and I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, yeah, I can see marking this one done. I'd fix up some of this short stuff. You know, I'd either connect it up, or I'd think about getting, if it were me mapping, validating, I'd leave it. If it were me mapping, I would fix it up. I'd connect it where I could, or maybe I'd think about taking out some of these shorties. If you can't feel good about connecting them to something, you know, this probably, yeah, I mean, this, if you can't feel good about connecting them to something and they're just this big, I might think about taking them out. But I've got to run. I've got to go check on sick pet. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah.
You could always write down questions and ask me. It was helpful, Laura? Okay. I wasn't doing the close ones through the fields. Yeah, that's great. I hope it helps. One of these days I'll try and get a little bit something laid out. I'd prefer to be answering questions and stuff like that. It's just hard mapping. This looks pretty well mapped. I mean, the buildings are all great. Perfect. And the paths, what's a path? What's not a path? What's a stream? It's just not easy. You know, it's just not easy. You know what I mean? It's just not easy. I don't know what to say. Don't feel like you're not doing it well or something. It's just not easy, you know? There's nothing else to say. It's hard. And asking somebody to look at it's the only thing you can do to, you know, to get better at it. I mean, I don't see anything mapped that shouldn't be mapped. I've seen people zoom in this far. I'm not kidding you. I've seen people zoom in like this. And I'm not kidding. Map buildings like this for hours.
Oh.
You know, this is a building. You know, this would be a building as far as they were concerned. They'll just map the pixels as buildings for 6 hours. I kid you not. Not often, but a couple times a year, I find somebody who maps buildings like this. Every square pixel. So you guys aren't mapping buildings like that. So as far as I'm concerned, you're doing great. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hundreds and hundreds hours, just hours and hours of people doing that. Okay. Oops. So please ask me questions, and if you save some questions up or you save up some things and you're not sure what they are, we can look at them. You can send them to me. I'm always glad to look. I'm always glad to come back together. If I ever actually take the time to write out a real tutorial or a real training for JASM, I'll do it and share it with you. And, that's that. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me too.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
I hope it helps. I hope it helps. And wait, I got to look at Laura. Laura, you give me the. Oh, okay. All right. That's great. Okay. All right, then. I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you both very much, and I hope to talk to you soon, at least on IRC or the email list. If not, another hangout. Next time I do it, maybe you guys will just come and hang out, and I'll talk to somebody else for 2 hours.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.